Okay, so drawing a pie chart. Quite often they'll give you a table of data, or you may have to fill in a table of data from, say, a list of colours or something. In this particular example, it's about the results of matches played by a football team. So the first thing that is useful is to know how many football games were played, so that we can actually think about how to split up our full circle. So we do a total, so 10, 16, 24. So there were 24 games played. Now, each of those games is going to take up part of the circle, the whole 360 degrees. So the first thing we need to do is work out how many degrees there are per game. So if we do 360 divided by 24, it tells me that we're going to need 15 degrees of the circle for each game. Now, a pie chart is broken up into sectors, and each of those sectors represents a particular piece of information. So we need to work out the angle that we need to draw for each of these three sectors for the one drawn and lost. So we found that was 15 degrees for each game. So for these 10 games, we can do 10 times 15 equals 150 degrees. So we'll need to draw 150 degrees for the one sector. And similarly, we do similar sums for each of the other sectors. So 6 times 15 degrees equals 90 degrees, and then 8 times 15, remembering it was 15 degrees per game, 120 degrees. Now we should always do a check. Now that's really important. Check that all our angles that we think we're going to draw add up to the full circle. So 150 plus 90 is 240, 340, 360. So we can see that the angles add up, so we can be fairly confident we've calculated those correctly. Now to draw the pie charts, we're going to need a protractor. So for the one game sector, we're going to need 150 degrees. So we always line up our protractor by putting the center and 0 on the vertical line. Now in this particular example, 0 is on the outside, so therefore we're going to count around the outside until we get to 150 degrees. Put a mark near the edge of the circle. We then get our ruler lining up the center of the circle and the 150 degrees carefully, and we draw that in. Now of course we should always add in the labels. On this particular exam there's always marks for labels, so 150 degrees, and this was for the 1. Now several ways you can draw the next sector, but usually the easiest way is we've got another angle to draw. So if we put the center of our protractor and 0 on the new line, and for drawn games there was 90 degrees. So again we've got 0 on the outside of the protractor, so we come around the outside till we get to 90, and then of course we get our ruler again, and again lining up the center of the circle with the line we've just drawn. Then we can complete that. So 90 degrees symbol for a right angle. Could write it in as well, and of course label. So this was for the drew games. Now because there was only 3 sectors, we don't need to actually draw the other angle, because if we've drawn our pie chart accurately, we should be able to put our protractor down, again lining the 0 up, and we should be able to measure and find that we got 120 degrees. So again, if we count round, we got our 0 on the inside this time, so when we come round we count round and we find it's 122 degrees. Well, that's my poor accuracy here, but it's within the 1 degrees for each sector that the exam board would allow, so you just need to be a little bit more accurate than what I was. And just make sure you line up your angles carefully. So that's how you can draw a pie chart. Work out how many items you've got to put into the pie chart. The whole pie chart is 360 degrees. Divide by the number of items to find out how many degrees for each item, which in this case was games. Multiply that angle by each of the frequencies to give us the total angle for the sector. Draw them really carefully, lining 0 up and counting around on the side that 0 is on, and then do your final checks, and as long as you know more than 2 degrees out, then you get all the marks, and again, as long as you've labelled a course. So I forgot to label this one, so really important we do that. Okay, that's how you draw pie charts.